we need. Let's get down, get it on. There's no time like now. Let's get down and get it on. There's no time like now. 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 There's no time like now.
Monday, April 23rd, is a date our city and country will not soon forget. A senseless tragedy occurred on our iconic Yonge Street that took the lives of 10 innocent people and injured several others. While civilians ran for safety, first responders from Toronto Fire, Toronto EMS, and the men and women of Toronto Police Service were first on scene to defuse the situation, stop the rampage, and attend to the victims. This afternoon, the Toronto Blue Jays are proud to welcome members of Toronto Police Service who risk their lives every day for the safety of all Torontonians, as well as the millions of tourists that frequent our city every year. Please welcome 12 members of the Toronto Police Service who are on the scene the day of this tragedy. Detective Constable Ali Rezvani. Police Constable Ashraf Ibrahim. Police Constable Riaz Ibrahim. Police Constable Andrew Brotherhood. Police Constable Sang Park. Sergeant Dave Willett. Police Constable Insnardo Barcenas. Police Constable Ken Lamb. Police Constable Howard Clements. Police Constable Kenneth Fung. Police Constable Russ Kimmer. Police Constable Paul Prius. Thank you for all that you've done and continue to do for our city. Every year on Canada Day, we salute the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces. Today, we're proud to host over 500 military members, along with family members who sacrifice for this country and for all Canadians. Today, we are recognizing a member of each division of the Canadian Armed Forces: Navy, Army, and Air Force. Leading Seaman William Mintzer has served in the Canadian Armed Forces for 8 years as a supply technician with the Royal Canadian Navy. He has deployed to the coast of Colombia in support of operations fighting human trafficking and to the Middle East, sailing in support of NATO operations. Currently with the Directorate of Naval Logistics in Quebec, please welcome Leading Seaman William Mintzer. Master Corporal Brendan Kerr has served with the Canadian Armed Forces for 7 years as a signals operator. He has supported forces operations both at home and abroad, and has recently returned from his first deployment to Ukraine, assisting with the forces training mission. He is currently a signals operator with the 3rd Battalion of the Royal Canadian Regiment. Master Corporal Brendan Kerr. Jeffrey Foreman has served in the Canadian Armed Forces for 6 years. A pilot with the Royal Canadian Air Force, he has flown over 1,200 hours, supporting both domestic and international operations that include deployments in support of Canadian Forces operations in Kuwait, Iraq, Syria, Latvia, and Ukraine. Currently with 437 Squadron at 8th Wing Trenton, Captain Jeffrey Foreman. A special guest today, a general officer who has served Canada for 33 years. He has deployed and commanded our forces and allies on numerous international operations in Afghanistan, the Balkans, and Africa with Canada's Special Forces. Please welcome the new commander of Canadian Joint Operations Command, Lieutenant General Mike Rouleau. The Toronto Blue Jays are proud to honor all the members of the Canadian Forces who serve our country every day. We would now like to invite 2 people to represent the groups on the field to throw out the Canada Day ceremonial first pitch. On behalf of Toronto Police Constable Lamb. Constable Lamb was the officer who on that day in April, with the help of colleagues, was the officer that apprehended and arrested the suspect in the attack. And on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, we invite Lieutenant General Rouleau, who is here representing over 260 members of the forces here at the ballpark today. And now please welcome John Axford and Marcus Stroman to catch the pitch. Constable Lamb, Lieutenant General Rouleau, it's your pitch. Men and women who protect us every day in the city and throughout the country. Now please welcome the Detroit Tigers and your Toronto Blue Jays. Now, please remove your caps, and those who are able, please rise. Presenting the colors this afternoon, the 48th Highlanders of Canada. With us this afternoon to perform the national anthems, Warrant Officer Daryl Castleman.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The Toronto Blue Jays are honored to have our Canadian flag proudly carried by over 250 members of the Canadian Armed Forces, Royal Canadian Navy, Canadian Army, and the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Qu'à ton bras c'est porter la paix, c'est porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des bleus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Whenever we have time-wise. But I'd like to say something about both.
Honda Civic Type R, like no Honda you've ever seen.
It is one of the very special days on the calendar across this country. It is Canada Day, and once again, the Blue Jays are home. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Pat Tabler. Buck, you've been at a lot of these, and they're just as special every single year.
They sure are, Dan. When I first came here in 1981, I really didn't understand what it meant to be a Canadian, and now I've been here so long, I really understand how proud these people are of their city, their country, from coast to coast. There's an awful lot of patriotism, especially on this day, and I think it's tremendous that people can come to the ballpark. They can put on their red flags and their red hats and celebrate Canada Day, and we can have a baseball game. It's a pretty special day across Canada.
This day has always been very special for me for two reasons. First of all, for Canada and everything that she has to offer to me and to my family in baseball. We get to celebrate baseball, and we know how good baseball's been to all of us. And for the Blue Jays, it's been pretty good over the last few days also. We are so happy to share it with you today. And the Blue Jays, the home run ball is back, Dan. I think they're 5-2 over their last 7 games with 12 home runs, including 3 game-winning home runs, especially the one in yesterday's ball game by Justin Smoke.
Yeah, that walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th by Justin Smoke as he leads his red jersey teammates onto the field here for the 3rd game of this 4-game set against the Detroit Tigers. Jay Happ will be on the mound for the Blue Jays this afternoon as they try to make it 3 in a row over Detroit. There's another game tomorrow. This is a wraparound series. The roof is closed again here at Rogers Center due to the intense heat in the southern Ontario area right now, so we've got some climate controlled conditions as Jay Happ gets set to face the Tigers again, who have lost 11 in a row. They were a game under 500 and they've lost 11 in a row since, but they do have at least one very dangerous batter. Nick Castellanos hit a home run yesterday, and he's got ridiculous numbers in his career against Jay Happ, 9 for 16. John Hicks hit a home run yesterday for the Tigers and has been hot over his last 6.
That is the lineup that Jay Happ will face this afternoon. Jay getting ready for his 17th start of the season. He became the 4th American League pitcher with 10 wins in his last start. That was at Houston. And you can't pitch any better than he did against Houston, beating the World Series champion Astros with 6 innings. He gave up just 3 runs at that game. And what was really interesting about that game is he knew that they were a fastball hitting type of team, so he made in-game adjustments to stifle them and hold them to just 3 runs in those 6 innings. He had 4 strikeouts and a couple of walks, and by far he has been the Blue Jays' best pitcher so far this season.
With the lefty on the mound for the Blue Jays, the left side of the defense is going to be important for the Jays, and we thought we'd highlight Teoscar Hernandez, who has not committed an error. In 35 games playing in left field, he made 4 errors in right field, but he's so much more comfortable. He takes better routes in left field. He has more confidence in left field, and I think he could factor in defensively in this game with Happ on the mound for the Jays.
Nice to see the red jerseys, the red caps with the gold maple leaf for the Blue Jays here on this Canada Day. Just a hint of blue showing on Russell Martin and Jay Happ as the Blue Jays get set to take on the Tigers. Leonis Martin ready to lead it off for Detroit. And away we go here at Rogers Center. And a first pitch swing and a foul back on a Jay Happ fastball from Martin, the center fielder for the Tigers, hitting .256, 9 home runs. He'll be followed by Castellanos and then Candelario. Tough times right now for a rebuilding Detroit Tiger franchise as they have traded off a number of veteran players. They've gotten a number of young prospects back in deals, but they're not yet major league ready. So Ron Gardenhire, it almost feels, guys, like he's in kind of a caretaking role for this team now to kind of nurture it into the next era.
Well, he's a former manager of the year, and he comes from a great background with Minnesota, and he expects them to play the game with respect. He wants them to run the bases. He wants them to hustle. He doesn't want them to show any kind of emotion. And Gardenhire, I think, is a perfect guy for the transition as they turn things over around here in Detroit.
With the young guys that they have up there, they had a team meeting today. The team put together and said, hey, look, we've lost 11 in a row, but go out there, respect the game, play the game the right way, hustle down to first base. Don't be throwing helmets and bats and things like that and showing people up. Get out there and just play the game the right way, and believe me, it'll turn.
Tough to maintain those things when you go through this kind of a stretch. Been outscored 68-29. in those 11 straight losses. Now swinging a high fly ball into very shallow right field. Travis is backpedaling, and Grichuk will let him have it. 1 down.
Well, if Happ is on his game, you can count on fly balls and strikeouts. That's what he does. He'll throw a lot of pitches up in the zone. One thing he does all the time, and it's really kind of curious, is every time a ball is hit, whether it's a fly ball out or ground ball, he'll ask for a new baseball. He'll throw that ball out himself.
I don't know why either. I don't know if he feels like the ball's hit and maybe it's dented up or something. I don't know, but he throws it out after every time it's hit. He has the ability now, I think, as a pitcher to adjust in game.
Nick Castellanos, first pitch swinging, drives the ball to center field, but righted Kevin Pillar, and that's out number 2.
You saw it the first time Jay pitched against this Detroit Tiger team. He sensed like they were looking for that inside fastball, so he threw everything away. Last time out against the Houston Astros, he sensed that they were on his fastball, so he started throwing more two-seamers and pitched very effectively.
Here's the guy, Candelario, who homered off Happ to lead off the ball game in Detroit back on June the 2nd. Happ's last loss was against Seattle way back on May the 10th. He is 6-0 in his last 8 starts since then, and has truly been one of the best starting pitchers in the American League this year, and is obviously a hot commodity, a much discussed player on the potential trade market as we are now officially into the month of July.
Well, Jay is such a character guy, and everybody knows he's been dealt a couple of times at the midseason trade deadline, so he's going to handle that very well. Plus, he's a pro, and he's throwing the ball very well right now. Candelario hit that home run you're talking about on an 0-1 pitch, and it was an inside fastball and a pretty good pitch. So Jay picked up on it, and they had a meeting, he and the catcher, and said, you know what, we got to change our approach, and it worked very effectively.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and just inside with that fastball to even it up at 2-2 on Candelario.
That fastball surprised Candelario. Everybody knows Jay Happ throws a lot of fastballs, and that one surprised him.
Happ working quickly, 2-2 on the way, and he bounces it in a full count. Two down and the base is empty, just underway here at Rogers Center between the Tigers and Blue Jays. And a lively crowd here in the ballpark this afternoon, making a lot of noise here in the top of the first inning. 3-2 is fouled off. Maybe they're a little pumped up because of the news that John Tavares has officially signed with the Maple Leafs. That happened right about the time the national anthems were being sung here at Rogers Center today, and there was this little whispers and rumor maybe he's in the ballpark, maybe he's going to catch the ceremonial first pitch. That was not to be, but he is a member of the Maple Leafs, and that's obviously big news here in this ballpark. Swing and a miss to get him, and the Tigers go in order. To the bottom of the first, the Blue Jays coming up. The starting lineup for the Blue Jays today, and Justin Smoke walked it off in the 9th inning yesterday. He's now homered in 2 consecutive games, and he's put up big numbers against the Tigers so far this season. Kevin Pillar seemingly coming out of that slump that he was in, doing some good work in his last 4 games, including his 25th double of the season yesterday.
The home runs are coming back for the Blue Jays, and that's always good news for them. Bad news for the pitching. Jordan Zimmermann will get the start this afternoon in his 3rd season with the Tigers, 10th season in the big leagues. He's coming off 5 shutout innings against Oakland, a walk and 3 strikeouts in that game, just 2-0 with a .435 earned run average. This is his first appearance here at Rogers Center, and he's faced the Blue Jays 3 times before in the past. 1-1 record with an ERA, very respectable .393 earned run average. He's a veteran. He doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he still has excellent stuff.
And he'll face Curtis Granderson here to begin the bottom of the 1st, and a miss just a hair outside for ball 1. Granderson hitting .370 over his last 15 games, .251 overall. Pulls 1 foul.
I think Granderson has really benefited from Randal Grichuk's return. He hasn't played as much, and at 37 years old, I think that served him very well. And with that, the bat's starting to come to life a bit.
And with Steve Pearce having been traded, a little bit less of a logjam. You know, Granderson will sit against lefties, and against righties, one of the outfielders or Morales or Smoke will sit. So 6 guys for 5 spots in effect.
I think when you have a fly ball type of pitcher, you got to put your best defense in the outfield, and that's what the Blue Jays have done today. Hernandez, Pillar, and Grichuk. You'll see Granderson DH for the most part.
High in the air to left field. And Jacoby Jones has room shy of the track, 1 down.
Well, the Tigers have a very good outfield defense. They have 19 outfield assists. That's the most in the American League. And Leonis Martin, he's the anchor in center field. And he made a terrific throw in the 8th inning to keep it a tie ball game when he threw out Devin Travis for his 9th outfield assist. Leonis Martin and Ledmus Diaz grew up in the same town in Cuba, and they actually played on the same team, Villa Clara, in Cuba as teenagers.
Here's Teoscar Hernandez. Hernandez at .257 on the season in 90 games with the Blue Jays this year and last year. 21 homers and an .844 OPS. Has been very productive offensively. And Tabby, we saw him around the cage before the day and said to him, "You've seen a lot more sliders than you used to." And he went, "Man, am I ever." I mean, he rolled his eyes, and you said the word is out, right? That he can really drive a fastball. So we've seen a lot more breaking.
Well, it's called respect. And the conversation started, are they pitching you any differently now that you've had some success? He said, "Man, I'm seeing a lot of breaking balls, a lot of them off the plate." And that's about respect.
There's a fastball there, but he fouled it back.
That was a good pitch to hit right there.
I think you made a great point about the breaking balls. Most of them are off the plate, and you don't have to hit those. But he has done a pretty good job of laying off those pitches. When we first saw him last year, he saw anything spinning and he was wailing at it no matter where it was. He's a different hitter this year.
High fly ball, deep right center field. And it's going to split the outfielders and land at the base of the fence, and Hernandez is on his way to third with a stand-up triple.
Looked like there might have been a little miscommunication in the outfield between Castellanos, the right fielder, and Martin, the center fielder. The ball was smoked, first of all, by Hernandez, but Martinez playing him over into the gap. They both get there, and they're both unsure who was going to take it. No one called for that ball, and Hernandez enjoys that as he hustles out of the box and turns that into a triple.
The interesting thing about those two defenders, neither one of them reached for the ball. They were just kind of bracing for the collisions. But the center fielder, Martin, has to take charge of that. He's the guy that's got to make an effort to try to catch it. But they were both very tentative, and in the final analysis, neither one of them reached for the baseball.
Hard to catch it if you don't put a glove out. And how many times have we seen Hernandez hit the ball hard to right center field this year? Does it again here for a triple. Early opportunity for the Blue Jays if Solarte can drive him in. grimacing a little bit. He felt that was his pitch to hit, and now he's in an 0-2 hole.
Well, Jordan Zimmerman will give you a fastball to hit. He's not afraid to challenge you with the old number 1. He gets in trouble when he starts throwing too many breaking balls.
Breaking ball inside of the knees for ball 1.
Yeah.
Infield is back for the Tigers.
I spoke to James McCann, the catcher, about Zimmerman's success recently, and he said, yeah, it's all about the fastball. He said he's got to stay to his strengths. And he was a little bit too conservative early in the season.
Well, he's healthy, too. The last couple of years, he's battled a lot of injuries. They feel like he is healthy. He's not throwing as hard as he did when he was, let's say, in his Washington days when he played for the Nationals. That fastball was 94, 95. Now it's 91, 92, but he can paint with it. He can put it where he needs to get outs.
Was an all-star twice with Washington, 2013 and again 14. He's in the 3rd year of a 5-year deal with Detroit, and another example of in this case, a pitcher in his 30s signed a big year deal, and the performance hasn't lived up to it. He's making $24 million this year. 25 next year and the year after that. So yeah, the Tigers are rebuilding, but kind of an unmovable contract as he misses outside and Solarte's worked it full.
Blue Jays have really played well at home, and Solarte's success with the bat here has helped that a lot.
Chased inside, foul tip, 2 down. And that'll bring up Justin Smoak, who Buck sent everybody home happy yesterday.
Well, he sure did. His 2nd career walk-off home run, and he got a fastball from the hard-throwing Joe Jimenez, and he drilled it to the seats. And no doubt for a walk-off home run, it was the 6th walk-off win for the Blue Jays this season. And you know what? They just haven't been scoring a lot of runs in different situations. And again, for 2nd straight day, they scored all the runs in 1 inning until Smoak connected.
Hot shot, and it's going to eat up Hicks and go down the line and bounce into the seats. That'll bring in Hernandez. Smoak with a double, and the Blue Jays take a 1-0 lead.
Smoak has said that I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable at the plate. I was taking my walks. They were pitching around me. I've got to get ready to hit. Anytime they throw that first pitch in there, and he jumps all over that pitch from Zimmerman, that has got to be a hit. It's a little cut fastball, and smokes it. Top spin. When you hit a slider like that from a left-hander, you create a lot of top spin to that first baseman, and it just eats up Hicks at first.
And it does go as a double for Smoak. Give him an RBI, his 41st on the season. 1-0 Blue Jays, bottom of the 1st. And now Kevin Pillar takes a high slider in for a strike.
Smoak's recent success has a lot to do with Pillar and Morales and Grichuk and how they're hitting lately, because Smoak's getting a lot more pitches to hit over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, a little bit more length to the lineup, it seems, recently.
Early on, they weren't giving him anything to hit, and he was taking his fair share of walks, but he wasn't productive. He didn't have a chance to drive in runs. Different story lately. Morales has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, him hitting behind him or hitting him around him, giving him some more pitches to hit. I think he's just getting ready to hit too. It looked like the ball was beating him, like he was anticipating pitches off the plate. Now he's going up there ready to swing it.
Had his career year last year. And trying to get hot and put up similar kinds of numbers here in 2018. If he can keep it going into the 2nd half of the season. No balls, 2 strikes. And Pillar shoots it foul down the right side.
Now that was a pretty impressive swing right there, although it's a foul ball. But the way he went after that slider, he had been pulling off that pitch and taking his head off the pitch. He had no chance to hit those outside breaking balls. But watch how he goes after this pitch. Stays right on it. He head stayed on the ball. Then he was able to stay alive.
Jammed him. It's popped up back of the plate. And room to make the play for McCann to retire the side. But the triple by Hernandez, the double by Smoak. 1-0 Blue Jays.
his 1,503rd game as Jay's skipper, so his experience more than a few Canada Day celebrations. Gibbons told me it has meant so much to him to be embraced by this country and its fan base. Gibbons said he can relate to Canadians because of their hard-working mentality. Many are hard-nosed blue-collar workers, good people, he tells me. It's been an honor to represent this ball club and the country in the majors. It makes him feel awfully proud. As for the most Canadian thing he's experienced in his tenure, he said, well, Tim Hortons coffee and a Toronto Maple Leafs game. As for his 2 tours of duty, Gibbons telling me with that self-deprecating humor of his, Dan, he says, quote, it means you can fool Canadians twice, not just once, but twice.
That's classic Gibby right there. Always ready with a line at his own expense. 1-0 Blue Jays, top of the second. John Hicks, the first baseman today for the Tigers, takes a strike on the outside corner from Jay Happ. It's great that every year in recent years, not every year they've been a franchise, but every year in recent years it seems the Blue Jays have been home on Canada Day. Not always home on a Victoria Day, which is kind of a shame, but always home on Canada Day. And some years, in fact, remember, it just said Canada on the back of the jersey. Didn't have the players' names like that one right there. But it's great to see the ballpark so red here one day each season.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and obviously the Blue Jays' main colors are white and blue, but it's really kind of cool to see all the red in the ballpark. And when I first came here in '81, as I mentioned, I didn't really have a feel for how proud the Canadians are of their heritage, and all of a sudden now, because there's only one baseball team, this is truly a national baseball team, and people from coast to coast understand that.
You know what I like? I love that flag that we get to see on Canada Day. We see it only 2 times a year. The flag for the national anthems on opening day and on Canada Day. And there's so much pride in the ballpark this afternoon.
Swing and a miss. Happ strikes out Hicks for the first out here in the second. And here's what Tabby was talking about as they unfurl the Canadian flag before the game, and nothing gets them going like that.
Yeah, you know, there are 250 members of the Canadian Forces that help unfurl that flag, and we also get a chance to see it during the postseason, and that's pretty special. But you know, as an American that has been here for a long time, I always get tears in my eyes when I see that flag unfurled as they open up this ball game, and it's a special day.
Just started doing that in the last 5 years or so.
Yep. Great to see some of the first responders too from that horrific attack on Yonge Street in Toronto earlier this year, including Constable Ken Lamb, who was the police officer who apprehended the suspect. He was one of the 2 to throw out a ceremonial first pitch today, and obviously a deep, warm, heartfelt ovation from the crowd here for the work that all the first responders did on that terrible day. Victor Martinez batting, switch hitter from the right side against the left-hander Happ. And Smoke reaches down to his right. He'll feed Happ covering. Nifty play, 2 down, and an update with Jamie Campbell. Well, that may be great and all, but if they get in a pinch hitting spot, they may lift Joey Votto and put Michael Lorenzen in there to pinch hit for him later on. He's a pitcher for the Reds. But if you haven't seen what he's done in recent days, his last 3 official at-bats, home runs, including a pinch hit grand slam yesterday for a pitcher. Crazy stuff.
I'm just going to go on the record. I'm not pinch hitting for Joey Votto, okay? Best hitter in the National League. Yeah.
5 up, 5 down so far for Jay Happ. James McCann is the batter. Popped him up. Travis back into shallow center field, and that's 3 up, 3 down again to the bottom of the second. 1-0 Blue Jays.
The MLB Ballpark app. Access and manage your tickets, enjoy check-in offers, exclusive content, and much more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today. Dan.
Thank you, Hazel. Hazel decked out in her best Canada Day red down at field level today. We go to the bottom of the second. Again, in front of a lively crowd, a lot of members of the Toronto Police Force, a lot of members of the Canadian military here in attendance today. 1-0 Blue Jays as Canadian Russell Martin gets his first at bat of the afternoon. It'll be Martin, Grichuk, and Diaz here in the bottom of the second. Saw John Axford, the other Canadian member of the Blue Jays, take a "How Canadian Are You" quiz with Hazel before the game. Saw that on Blue Jays Central. And did very well. He knows his poutine. He knows his ketchup chips. He knows all that stuff.
He's Canadian.
Yeah.
He's supposed to know that.
He better.
When I first came to Toronto and I ran out on the field for the first time, a fan hollered to me, "Hey, are you the new back catcher?"
Yes.
And I went, "What?" I said, "No, I'm a pretty good catcher. I'm not a bad catcher." And then he asked me if he could see my decker, and I said, "Excuse me?" What's a decker? But then I learned the decker is the catcher's mitt, and the back catcher is a catcher.
Yeah.
How about your sweater number?
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that really got me when I first came up
What's
here.
your sweater number?
What's your sweater number? I'm not wearing a sweater today.
Hockey thing, yeah. Back catcher and can't defend that.
How about the toque? And I thought, "Where's your toque?" And I don't have a toque. "Oh, yeah, you do."
Swing and a miss by Martin for the first down here in the bottom of the second. But don't you say toque now? You don't say ski cap anymore, don't you?
It's the toque.
It's a toque.
It's a toque.
It's a toque.
It's a toque.
That was the one question that Axford blew before the game.
No.
Yes. Hazel said to him, you know, Americans call it a ski cap, Canadians call it and he swung and missed. Swung
Wow.
and nailed every other question, but missed that one.
He wears a lot of fedoras around.
Yeah.
He's a guy
Yes.
that sports a lot of
Yeah.
fedoras, so he wouldn't understand a toque.
There's Randall Grichuk. What a month of June it was for Grichuk. Hitting over 300, hitting for power, slugging percentage over 600, coming back off the DL. And playing some really nice defense out in right field, which was the reputation that he brought with him from St. Louis. Cracked that bad, and now pretty much an everyday outfield situation for the Blue Jays with Hernandez in left, Pilar in center, and Grichuk in right.
Here's the important thing. All the troubles he had in April, he never took his offensive woes out to the field. Played the game the right way.
I spoke to him about that, and I said, "You deserve a lot of credit because you never felt sorry for yourself in the outfit." He said, "Listen, if I'm not getting any hits, they're not getting any hits." So that's pretty good attitude, and you know what? He's been impressive. He's a very good athlete, and when the ball is on his barrel, it jumps.
To the right side, Zimmerman's got to get over to cover and is there just in time. 4-1 on the putout, 2 down.
You know, that was really interesting the way Zimmerman went after that ball. Any ball that's hit to the right of the infield, you're supposed to run up the line and sprint over there. But watch how he knows it's not hit hard, so he just takes his time. He knows he's got to time it to catch it before he gets to the bag where he can catch it and find the baseball bag. That was perfectly executed. You don't sprint over there every single time.
So a veteran's heartbeat got he knew he didn't have to rush.
Zimmerman was a terrific multi-sport athlete in southern Wisconsin. He was a great football player. So he has a very, very good heartbeat and a very good inner clock. He didn't panic at all. Pat made a great point about that. He just kind of breezed over to the bag, and he's going to conserve his energy for pitching, not for covering first.
That too, and if you sprint over there and then you're there, the timing gets messed up because it was a slow developing play. If you're over there and now you got to reach like a first baseman, it just doesn't work.
2 down and the base is empty. 1-0 Blue Jays bottom of the second and a 1-2 count of the Blue Jays shortstop. Aledmus Diaz hitting .246 on the season and .280 since he came off the DL. A young Blue Jays fan having a little early afternoon snooze right here. Diaz has shown some pop in his bat. He's always had that. So whether he can make enough contact and hit for a good enough average, but he can drive the ball when he barrels it up. Swing and a miss on a good slider away from him. Zimmerman with his third strikeout. 1-0 at the end of 2.
Out Candelario and Griner attempting to steal second base. What is key to having success in those situations? Maley tells me fundamentally catch the ball as deep as I can, close to my body so I'm not extended or reaching, and of course get the ball out of my hand as quickly as possible. According to Maley, if the pitcher gives him the baseball in a decent amount of time and the ball doesn't find the dirt, you're not asking too much at this level to have someone put an accurate throw to second. We need 27 outs, he said. If I'm responsible for 1 or 2 of those out, it goes a long way for your starter. Throwing guys out, Dan, he tells me, can be momentum shifters when there's a good hitter at the plate.
Well, because teams don't run as much, they're very selective about when they steal. Stolen base percentages are higher than they've ever been because teams don't want to risk getting thrown out. So, Buck, to Hazel's point, when you do throw somebody out, it's got to be a huge emotional lift.
Yeah, it sure is. It's just like hitting a home run for a catcher because you erase that base runner. But Luke has thrown very well all season long, and Hazel made a good point about Luke's evaluation of what it takes to throw well. You have to let that ball come to you. You can't be moving when you catch the ball. The only guy that I've ever really seen do that very well was Russell Martin. Martin is so athletic, he can actually move his body as the ball is coming to him. And when he first came here, he was throwing as well as I'd ever seen him throw.
There's a bullet up the middle off the bat of Nico Goodrum, first base hit of the afternoon for the Tigers.
Goodrum's an interesting story. He grew up in the Twins organization. I spoke to him about the foundation of fundamentals he got from the Twins. He said it's everything. When you play for the Minnesota Twins, even if you're in the minor leagues, they expect you to play hard, understand the game, learn how to run the bases, and give it everything you have every single day. So with Ron Gardner here as the manager now, Goodrum was available, and Detroit said we can use this guy as a utility player.
Fundamentals. Great fundamentals.
Ground ball to short, could be 2 to second, 1 on to first, and plenty of time for the double play. The Pitch Tracker is brought to you by Coors Light. Coors Light MLB cans available now, featuring the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Yankees, Cubs, Mariners, and Expos. Just like that, 2 down here in the top of the third after the Diaz to Travis to Smoke double play. I don't know who invented the term tailor-made double play ball, but that was it right there, wasn't it?
Well, the thing that made that such an easy double play was how quickly Diaz gloved it and threw to Travis. And he had to go to his right in the hole a bit, made a terrific throw to second.
In the air down the right side and out of play. Jacoby Jones, the batter, the left fielder, hitting .217. Tigers picked him up in a trade with the Pirates back in 2015. Just a .201 career hitter at the big league level.
He's an interesting guy with some athletic tools.
Yep.
You watch him run, plays the game the right way, I don't know that much about him, but I got to figure at some point he played football somewhere. Watching him play the game of baseball, he's got a lot of that football mentality in him.
And he's one of the guys, as you look at a rebuilding team like the Tigers, you're trying to figure out who's a part of the future, who is a part of the puzzle going forward, and they still hope that Jones is not just a kind of a placeholder, that he is a guy who can help them into that next era.
He runs well. He's not hitting too well right now, but you can see some ability there. Just 11 walks and 76 strikeouts so far this year and 250 at bats.
Two and a foul back, and Tabby, thanks to the miracle that is the internet, we can tell you Jacoby Jones was a wide receiver in high school.
He was.
Is that what you got, Buck? You on the same page I'm on?
There's two
no,
Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, there's Jacoby Jones plays for the Ravens.
No. This is the Detroit Tigers Jacoby Jones.
Right,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know he played high school football,
Yeah.
and you can see he's a big guy, a very athletic guy.
I did not know that.
There you go.
But thank you, internet, and that proves. Yeah, I mean, just watch him. You say this guy comes from a football background.
2 down and a full count on the Tigers' number 9 hitter. And he lines the ball to left field. Hernandez going to play it on a bounce. You could see for just a moment he thought about going after that ball, then decided to play it safe and take it on a bounce, and it'll be a double for Jones.
You know, I think that's one instance right there where Teoscar could have laid out and tried to make the catch. Here he comes. He's thinking about it right there and then backs off. It's still going to be a double. If he dives for this ball, tries to catch it, misses, it's still going to be a double. He wasn't going to turn that into a triple just by where the ball was hit down the left field line. He had some thoughts about maybe diving and laying out for it.
So a runner at second with 2 down, and back to the top of the order for Leonis Martin, who popped up his first time up. And the Blue Jays put the shift on again as he chops one weakly to the right side. Travis has got to come a long way, and they'll get him on a bang play. Well, he was playing way back on the outfield turf in the shift, but he covered the ground in time. And the play by Travis allows Happ to come off the field without the Tigers scoring any runs. One more look over to break. Still 1-0 Blue Jays.
TD's community partners. And it's a road that's unrelenting, unforgiving, unforgettable. The Tour de France, July 7th to the 29th on Sportsnet 1.
Hey, so thank you. All kinds of things going on around the sports world. Of course, the big news, certainly in Toronto, but around the hockey world, is signing by the Maple Leafs of John Tavares, who inked a 7-year deal, according to published reports. And that's big news in the ballpark. And around the NHL, Devin Travis leading off the bottom of the third. 1-0 Blue Jays. on a Justin Smoke double that drove in Teoscar Hernandez back in the first. And Zimmerman a lot more locked in with his command since that Smoke double. 4 in a row set down, a couple of strikeouts, getting ahead of hitters, and a broken bat. Ground ball, weakly hit back to the mound for an easy first out.
He's always been the type of pitcher, Zimmerman, where he can locate his fastball. But when you're not healthy, and he's dealt with some arm problems and neck problems over the last few years, you just can't finish the pitches and you can't throw the ball where you need it to. If I'm Devin Travis right now, those were 3 beautifully placed pitches. You could do nothing with any of those. Don't worry about that. Jordan Zimmerman just made 3 good pitches on him.
4th start of his career against the Blue Jays, but the first one ever here at Rogers Center as Curtis Granderson looks at a strike. Granderson with a fly ball to fairly deep left field, his first time up. Anderson making sure he's got the red cleats on to complement the jersey and the batting helmet and the socks here on Canada Day, and the belt as well. Choking up on an 0-2 count.
Remember when baseball spikes used to be black?
Yeah. And you got like 2 pair for the whole season.
Yeah.
Now they've got shoes for every occasion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 2 or 3 shoes a day, pairs.
Another ground ball. And with a shift on, an easy play there by Iglesias, 2 down. Time now for a look at Skyscraper, starring Dwayne Johnson.
Skyscraper in theaters and Real D 3D July 13th.
1-0 Blue Jays as they bat here in the bottom of the third. 2 down, nobody on, and the batter is Teoscar Hernandez, who tripled to right center and then scored on the Justin Smoke double back in the first. A towering fly ball down the right side that will get back out of play for Teoscar, his 6th triple on the season.
What did the team hit last year for a team? 5?
5.
All of last year.
Yes.
He's got 6 by himself this season.
He's now 2nd in the American League in triples behind only Yolmer Sanchez of the White Sox, who has 8.
Oscar had a triple against Detroit in Comerica Park first week of June.
Power and speed. He's got power to knock it off the wall and the speed to get the third.
It's this ball pretty well to center field, but Martin is back to haul it in, and the Blue Jays go in order again. End of 3. Blue Jays up 1-0.
minutes ago, the Blue Jays honored 3 members of the armed forces during the pregame ceremonies. One was this gentleman, leading seaman William Mincer. A few moments ago, as I mentioned, in a complete surprise to him, he was promoted to the rank of Master Seaman. A special moment for sure. His wife, Kate, also on hand. Congratulations. We gotta love Canada Day here at the ballpark, Dan.
We absolutely do, Hazel. Thank you for so many reasons. Blue Jays up 1-0, top 4 here at the Rogers Center. Jay Happ on the mound for the Blue Jays, and he'll face the best hitter the Tigers have here to begin the top of the 4th. Nick Castellanos hit a fly ball to center his first time up, but still 9 for 17 in his career against Happ. Castellanos, one of the cornerstones of this Tigers team, only 26. Got to the majors early, though, so they've only got him for 1 more year. He's a free agent after next season. You would imagine they'd have to be blown away to trade him right now and have somebody to build around.
What a talent. He was, they were saying, we were talking to Lloyd McClendon the first day here. He said he was been very effective by Miguel Cabrera. The way Cabrera's approaches at the plate, driving the ball to right center field, staying behind the baseball, and he looks like a mini Miguel Cabrera. And a combination of him and J.D. Martinez. He's got a lot of J.D. Martinez in his swing.
Yep. Another former Tiger, one of the veteran guys no longer with the team. Miguel Cabrera, of course, out for the season. Ruptured a biceps tendon, so he's done for the year. It's a pretty good pitch there from Jay Happ, and he doesn't get the call.
Yeah, Jay Happ needs that call, especially against a guy like Castellanos. I think that's the one place you can pitch him because he is so good on the outer 3/4 of the plate. But Happ threw a good pitch up and in and didn't get the call.
And a base hit through the left side.
The diverse Civic family, our most powerful lineup yet. Honda, proud fan since 1977 and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Leadoff man aboard for the Tigers here on this Sunday afternoon, on this Canada Day afternoon, with the Blue Jays up 1-0, and Jay Happ into the stretch as Jamer Candelario comes up.
I got a question for you guys. Which team in the American League is tied with the Houston Astros for the highest batting average against left-handed pitching this season?
The Detroit Tigers?
Good guess. Never would have thought that.
No. Like 274 or something like that?
274.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you think this is a layup for the Blue Jays facing a team that's 0-11 in their last 11 games, this isn't a slam dunk. And Jay's got to be on his game, and so far he has.
The Tigers are 11-9 against left-handed starters. The Blue Jays just the opposite. They have 11 wins, but they have 21 losses. It's only been recently that they haven't had any kind of success against lefty starters.
And the Tigers not just hitting for average against lefties, but slugging the ball pretty well as well. They're 3rd in the American League in slugging percentage against lefties.
Jay's last win was against those Houston Astros. So he's facing a couple of really good teams who handle left-handed pitching this year.
And every time he takes the mound, guys, you can't help but wonder, is this the last time that he takes the mound as a Blue Jay this season? You got to believe he is going to be traded at some point this month. Now that it's July, you know, a lot of teams would love to have him near the front end of the rotation. Couldn't help but notice Sonny Gray had a dismal outing for the Yankees last night. They appear to be in the market for a starting pitcher. That battle they're waging with the Red Sox, both of those teams desperately want to win the division and avoid being like a 105 win team that has to go play in a wild card game. And obviously Happ could fit on so many different teams, but you just wonder, when is that last time that we're going to see him?
I think if you're willing to trade for Jay Happ, first of all, you're going to have to give up a lot to get him. But your eyes are on, there's another ground ball.
And the Blue Jays will turn their second 6-4-3 double play of the ballgame.
But your eyes are on the playoffs, not get me to the playoffs. Can you help me win in the playoffs and win the ultimate prize, the World Series? And I think what Jay did in his last start, going down to Houston and beating the Astros, at Minute Maid Park, I thought spoke volumes about his value.
And even the start before against Atlanta, the Braves are a terrific offensive team.
Oh, handcuffed him.
And all of a sudden, this half inning is going to come to an end in a hurry as John Hicks skies one into center field. Routine for Pilar. And that's it. No runs are hit. Nobody left to the bottom of the fourth. The Blue Jays still up 1-0 here on Canada Day.
Center. After the Detroit Tigers leave town, Blue Jays fans can welcome Jose Bautista and the New York Mets from July 3rd to the 4th. Then watch AL East opponents New York Yankees and Baltimore Orioles from July 20th to 22nd, and then the Minnesota Twins close out the homestand this month from July 23rd to the 25th. BlueJays.com is where you go for tickets.
Hazel, thank you. The Mets struggling about as much now as the Tigers or anybody else is. The Mets got off to a great start this year, like 11-2 or 12-2, and they have been scuffling badly ever since. And yes, it does look like Jose Bautista is going to be back at Rogers Center in just a couple of days, guys.
Struggling to hit the Mets.
They haven't hit at all, and they brought Bautista in hoping to get some offense from him, and Jose hasn't really done an awful lot since he has joined the Mets.
I think he homered. Was it today or yesterday?
He homered yesterday. Yeah. So far this season, and this includes his numbers with Atlanta prior to being released and then joining the Mets, he's hitting .224. He's got 5 homers and 11 doubles and 116 at bats. So he's not hitting for much of an average, but the slugging, the OPS, pretty good. And a swing and a miss by Solarte. What do you think the reaction will be to Jose Bautista?
Oh, it'll be very positive. He was a terrific player here. He had a 50 home run season here. He was part of the resurgence to get the Blue Jays back into the postseason. He will really receive a very warm welcome back to Rogers Center.
He'll get a standing ovation.
Yeah, I think
for
so too.
sure.
Yeah.
His first at bat.
And he had one of the most memorable moments in history of the franchise, the bat flip game against Texas. I mean, people won't forget that.
Just down and in on a close pitch, ball 1 to Justin Smoke, who has driven in the only run of the afternoon on an RBI double. A hot shot down to first that handcuffed John Hicks and then spun into foul territory and into the seats. He had one of the great lines of the season yesterday when he was asked by Hazel after the game about hitting the home run, and he goes, well, you know, let's be honest, nobody likes playing extra innings.
I love that about him. He's so honest.
That's Smoke.
And that goes for the broadcasters too,
Absolutely.
by the way.
We were thinking about dinner reservations, and he saved everybody.
Two balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, you don't have to try to decipher what Justin Smoke tells you. When he speaks the truth.
They got to pitch him tough. He has really worn out the Tigers this season. He's had 3 home runs against the Tigers just this year.
Not this time. Good sharp breaking ball there. Strikeout number 5 for Zimmerman.
Well, he pitched him tough this at bat. Going to finish him off with a curveball. But he threw a slider, he threw him a changeup, he threw him a high fastball, and then that slow curveball to get him for the second out.
Kevin Pillar, the batter. There's a tighter slider there on the first pitch from Zimmerman as opposed to more of a curveball that he just got smoked with. Pillar popped up into foul territory to the catcher James McCann, his first time up. This time he lines it to right center field, and it's not going to be made by Martin. He was there in time, reached out and just couldn't come up with a ball, and Pillar's aboard.
Martin's one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, and he got to the ball. You're right, Dan. He was there. He could have made the catch, but it looked like he just got a piece of it and didn't get it in the pocket of that glove. He's fortunate that it stayed nearby, but he's got a beat on this. He reaches out and just kind of missed it, but he got a piece of it because he knocked it down. You could see maybe hit him on the wrist or on the thumb, but he was there. Should have made the catch.
And it goes as a base hit.
How about the respect by Pillar to his counterpart in center field? He didn't try to turn that into a double. He was thinking about it. Martin, 9 outfield assists in center field. Pillar said, I'm going to stay right here.
Now how about running though right now? 2 down. He's at first. Russell Martin up. Pillar's 10 for 11, stealing on the season. Not going. And Martin drives it to right field. Castellanos back, and he made the catch. What a tremendous catch, reaching back over his left shoulder by Castellanos to undoubtedly save a run, as you got to believe Pillar would have scored on that. A former infielder. What a play by Castellanos. Still 1-0 Blue Jays at the end of 4. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie and Joe in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Honda tomorrow when the Blue Jays take on the Detroit Tigers at 1:07 p.m. Eastern. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com.
Well, that is going to be a popular item for a guy who's very likely to be the Blue Jays All-Star representative for the kind of season that Jay Happ is having so far this year.
If he's here.
If he's here. Well, he could be their All-Star rep. If he's chosen as their All-Star and then he's traded, he's still their All-Star, right? No matter what jersey he's wearing at the All-Star game. But the numbers certainly add up to an All-Star berth for Jay Happ. Top 5, 1-0 Blue Jays. Victor Martinez. And a strike at the knees, 0-1. J-Hap has never been an All-Star. Even in that 20-win season 2 years ago.
He was 12-3 at the All-Star break in 2016, but he did not get selected to the All-Star team. He's right on pace with that season when he went 20-4. This is his 16th start. It's his 17th start.
He's durable. He gives you innings. He gets you deep into the ball game. He helps you win. I mean, what's there not to like about this guy?
And he's been traded 3 times in July. In 2010, he was traded from Philadelphia to Houston for Roy Oswalt. That was a big boost for the Phillies. And then in 2012, he went from Houston, came here to Toronto. And then in 2015, he was traded from the Seattle Mariners to Pittsburgh. The interesting connection with this Tiger team, Lloyd McClendon, the hitting coach for the Tigers, was Jay's manager in Seattle at that time in 2015. And McClendon was very complimentary in assessing what has happened with Hap recently, as Jay has really turned into one of the most dominant pitchers in the league.
Pitching up with his fastball so effectively as he did right there, inducing the pop-up.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
You were saying he wasn't an all-star in 2016.
He has never been an all-star.
So I'm like, well, who was the all-star for the Blue Jays? Josh Donaldson? Yeah, he was pretty good. Edwin Encarnacion. Marco Estrada was an all-star in 2016. Jay's got a great chance this year.
James McCann, the catcher, popped up his first time up. Each team with 3 base hits so far today as Hap misses outside, ball 1. Best case scenario would be, and you don't want to have to trade a guy like Jay Happ, but if they're going to trade him, get a really good prospect or 2. And then take a run at him as a free agent in the offseason if the Blue Jays want to have him back, and you've got to believe they would if the price was right and if Hap wants to come back.
Yeah, Jay has been here with the Blue Jays 2 different stints, and he really has a lot of respect for Pete Walker. Walker really stood up for Hap in his first go around with the Blue Jays. Hap was pitching out of the pen, and Pete always tried to push him into the rotation. And Hap remembers that and remembers how supportive Pete Walker has been throughout Jay's time here with the Blue Jays.
They don't forget, do they? Remember that? They were going to move him into the pen. I think he came out of the pen and threw for just a little bit. He's taken his game to the next level because he can do different things on the mound now. He was saying after that start in Houston, I was asking him about that, and he was saying, you know, I don't like to go into a game thinking I just have to throw fastballs at guys to get them out. I have to be able to switch and change and adjust in the game so I can throw some 2-seamers. And if I've got that 2-seamer, I know it's going to be in the back of their mind. I said, well, didn't you throw some sliders in that game too to pick up some strikeouts? And he said, yeah, I've got that in there too, and I don't want to run away from it. He says, Russell does a good job of making me and forcing me to use all of my pitches within the game.
Fastball, swing and a miss, and another strikeout for Hap.
Check out the Beauty Tone Paint event on now through July 3rd, only at Home Hardware. Here's how.
Big crowd here at Rogers Center, and everybody, it seems, wearing red here on Canada Day. And the Blue Jays up 1-0 behind Jay Happ. Just picked up his 3rd strikeout of the day.
How come we didn't get any cake?
That's an excellent question.
Huh? Everybody was getting cake. Bring us some cake.
Saw some cake downstairs outside the clubhouse today.
Well, it's Aaron Sanchez's birthday too,
Yeah.
so maybe that was that cake might have been for Sanchez.
Yeah, it's Aaron's birthday.
But he could have sent us up some cake. 1-1 on Nico Goodrum. Had a base hit his first time up. And a base hit through the right side. Didn't hit it hard, but he finds a hole, and Goodrum's 2 for 2.
He's a switch hitter. Single to center field his first time up against Jay, and then reaches out on a pitch. Looked like they're trying some kind of off-speed pitch down and away. Yeah, the cutter down and away. He covers that pitch. Able to get it off the bat and through the hole on the right side. He's got some speed too. Got to keep an eye on him over at first base.
6 stolen bases on the season. Jose Iglesias is the batter. With the way Happ's pitching, you wouldn't be surprised at all if Ron Gardenhire put Goodrum in motion.
But especially the way Jordan Zimmerman's pitching right now. He has got his stuff together after giving up that 1 run, and he's locked in. He's thrown everything very well, so don't be surprised if they try something. Iglesias is their best contact hitter. You know, speaking of Canada Day, Jose Iglesias played for the Cuban junior national team and played in Edmonton in 2008. His second baseman was Ledmus Diaz, but that's not the important part of the story. He left the team and defected from Cuba and crossed the border from Canada into the U.S. in Montana. He walked across the border. There's a hit and run, and it's fouled out. So Iglesias said, you know what, I have a tremendous feeling about Canada because it's where I got away from Cuba and got a chance to defect. And he literally, I said, where did you cross the border? He goes, I don't know. I walked across the border somewhere in Montana. So you can imagine the difficult path all of these Cubans have had to make their way to the major leagues.
In political asylum once he got to through the border.
Yeah, he sought political asylum when he crossed the border. He said, I'm from Cuba and I would like to seek political asylum. And then he established residence in the Dominican Republic, became a free agent, and signed with the Boston Red Sox. And one of his first games in the major leagues was right here in Toronto.
And that's why Canada means so much to him. Wow, what a story.
Well, some of the things you take for granted when you come from a country like this or a country like the U.S. and just certain things that, you know, we can't imagine having dealt with, that guys like Iglesias and Diaz have had to deal with.
Martin and Morales and Gurriel down in Buffalo right now. We can't even imagine the gamble that they took to escape Cuba and get a chance to have freedom.
Pokes it to right center field. It's going to drop for a base hit. Grichuk will get it back into the infield. To third on the play is Goodrum on the single by Iglesias.
He does such a good job, Iglesias, with 2 strikes, cutting down his swing and just trying to make contact. Jay throws him a pretty good pitch with 2 strikes, actually off the plate. You look at the plate coverage and his ability just to softly line that ball into right field and in front of Grichuk. I think that's why they were trying to steal early on to get him to second base. And with 2 outs, he's going to go easily first to third on the base hit.
So runners on the corners with 2 down for Jacoby Jones, the number 9 hitter. Jones had a double to left field his first time up. It's the first time in the ball game the Tigers have had a runner as far as third base against Happ. They're now out hitting the Blue Jays 5-3, but the score is 1-0 Blue Jays, the same it's been since the bottom of the first. Tigers have lost 11 in a row. Their longest losing streak since they lost 11 in a row in 2003. They last lost 12 in a row in 1996. Ron Gardenhire trying to keep everybody's spirits up. There's a half season of baseball left.
Such a good baseball man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been through it all. He's been on good teams. He's been on bad teams. He's played for good teams. He's played for bad teams. He's managed good teams, playoff teams. He's the perfect guy for a young team to learn how to play the game the right way.
In spring training, he said, you know, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to make it round again. Fundamentals, that's what they're emphasizing. Fundamentals and effort.
Fastball missed outside. 3 balls and a strike. And ball 4 to load the bases. First walk given up by Happ today.
Again, that might not have been a bad thing because you turn the lineup over. Now you deal with the left-handed hitting Leonis Martin. And Happ, he has pretty good command, and he's gotten Martin to pop out and ground out weakly to the second baseman.
He's hitting $175 against left-handed pitching coming into this game.
And lefty's only hitting $167 against Happ, so the numbers are in Happ's favor here. Shift on. How about this? Going to try to bunt home a run, and he will. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and Martin gets a bunt down for a single to tie the game.
And it looked like Martin may have hurt himself running up the first baseline. Goodrum scores from third, and what a heads-up play by Martin with 2 outs and the bases loaded. I mean, he dropped down a beauty.
He knows the numbers just like we know the numbers. He's had trouble against lefties, so he's going to drop it down. Jay had some thoughts of maybe going home with that ball. He knew he couldn't get the runner over at first base, and it looks like his afternoon's over.
So he gets the hit, he gets the RBI, but he also has to come out of the game.
Oh, there it is. Halfway up the line.
Looked like he staggered a bit and took an awkward step, and that may have put pressure on his hamstring. That's what it appears to be, a hamstring injury. So he is out of the game, and Victor Reyes takes over at first base as the pinch runner, as he did in last night's game.
And now Happ has to face Castellanos, and all of a sudden a much different looking ball game here as the Tigers have tied it, and Castellanos rips it to deep right field. Grichuk off the top of the wall. It is gone. Nick Castellanos with a grand slam. His 4th career grand slam. And my, how this game has changed in just the last few moments. It is 5-1 Tigers.
2 outs, nobody on. 2 very quick outs in the 5th inning. And then what looked like a harmless single by Nico Goodrum has turned into 5 runs for the Tigers. The player with the highest average against left-handed pitching this season is this guy right here. He came into this game .425 against lefties this season. Bounces one off the top of the wall for 4 quick runs.
3rd grand slam of the season for the Tigers. And it is suddenly 5-1 Detroit, off the top of the fence and up into the 100 level of seats out in the outfield. What a season this guy's having. You talk about guys who are going to be at the All-Star game. Castellanos will be there for the Tigers.
Easily. That's his 13th home run of the season. That's the team lead. He has also driven in 53 now. Told you this team tied with the Astros for the highest average against left-handed pitching this year, so it's no freebie.
As you said, Tabby, it kind of came out of nowhere. 2 outs and nobody on and near the bottom of the order, and Happ just couldn't get that 3rd out.
Anytime you can get those bottom guys on base, it bodes well for your offense, and that's what happened.
A strikeout of Candelario to end the top of the 5th, but not before the Tigers do some big damage. Most of it done by Nick Castellanos, and it's suddenly 5-1 Detroit.
his 10th home run of the season, 7th here at Rogers Center. Grichuk has had the 3rd best slugging percentage in the American League since June 3rd. And he told me he credits hitting coach Brooke Jacoby for helping him turn things around. Grichuk said Jacoby spent a lot of one-on-one time with him in the cages. Jacoby has been so patient with him, especially during his struggles, and Grichuk appreciates the confidence Jacoby has shown in him. That support matters, he said, particularly when you're on a new team trying to make a good first impression on teammates and a new fan base. Grichuk said he wasn't able to help his team out early in the season, Dan, but he says it sure feels good to be able to contribute now.
Hazel, thank you. Well, as Hazel says, new team, new league, 2 injuries in spring training. So not that the deck was stacked against him, Buck, but a lot to overcome early, and now finding his sea legs in Toronto. Some changes for the Tigers. Victor Reyes stays in the game after running for the injured Leonis Martin. Reyes to left. Jacoby Jones moves from left to center.
How about the play by Martin with 2 outs and the bases loaded to be aware enough to drop down a bunt? And that tied the game and set the table for the grand slam.
You just never see a 2-out bases loaded bunt attempt. The only reason you did see it, or one of the reasons you saw it, is the defense. Solarte was well off the line and back. Shift situation, element of surprise, and also Martin knowing he hadn't had any luck against Happ.
Left versus left. That's where the surprise was. You don't see a lot of bunts because you're like, well, just get you 1 run. I mean, you're trying to knock in 2 runs with 1 base hit, but then you got to think, well, who's hitting behind me?
Right.
I got the best hitter in baseball behind me versus left-handed pitching this year. Pretty heads-up play.
And a game changer so far, as it turns out. The Blue Jays have their work cut out for them if they're going to make it 3 in a row over the Tigers. Jordan Zimmermann, very good since the first inning. He has retired 10 of the last 11. Make it now 11 out of 12 after the Grichuk ground out. After a game tomorrow to wrap up the series with Detroit, the Mets are in for 2 games, Tuesday and Wednesday, day off Thursday. Then the Yankees come to town Friday through Sunday. And Ryan Borucki will be on the mound tomorrow to wrap up this series against Detroit. Well, you couldn't place it any better if you're Diaz as he comes up with an infield hit.
This 4K broadcast is brought to you by the Samsung QLED TV. See nothing else.
Very hot day here in downtown Toronto. That's why the roof is closed here at Rogers Center. Diaz aboard with an infield hit. Blue Jays down 5-1. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Pat Tabler here on Canada Today. Guys, we mentioned Ryan Borucki will be on the mound tomorrow afternoon against the Tigers. What do you guys think about his first start?
I was impressed. He did not get overwhelmed whenever he had a runner in scoring position. He didn't try to do too much. He stayed, as they say, within himself. But he was impressive in his first start.
Here's what impressed me. He's facing the World Series champion Houston Astros in their ballpark, making his major league debut. And whenever he, quote, lost it for a second, where he would shoot a fastball over here, he had that ability to come back, gather himself back up, and get back in the strike zone. Pretty impressive stuff for a young guy.
The only guy that was really nervous was his father. He was there in the ballpark, and he played minor league baseball, so he understood what it meant for his son to make his major league debut. It was a special day for the Boruckis.
Aaron Sanchez not quite ready to come back, so Borucki gets another start.
Yeah, and Ryan has dealt with a lot of things. He had Tommy John surgery, then he had elbow bone chip surgery, so he's been through a lot early in his career.
This could be trouble. And Travis is safe at first. Back-to-back infield hits for the Blue Jays.
Well, we talked about how important it was for the bottom 3 in the Tigers lineup to reach base. Now you get 2 on and turn the lineup over for the Blue Jays, and you got to capitalize on these 2 infield hits. If Iglesias pulls back and gives Jamer Candelaria a little bit more time, maybe he makes the play, but it just looked like one of those balls that was hit right in the perfect spot.
2 strikes. The third baseman's playing a little bit deeper than he would early in the count, and Travis legs it out.
Well, let's see if Granderson can keep it going. First and second, one down, and the Blue Jays down 5-1 in the bottom of the fifth. And right at the knees with a curveball, 0-1. Fly ball to left, ground ball to short for Granderson today. The shortstop Iglesias is still to the left of second base and engaged in conversation right now with Aledmus Diaz.
Granderson, of course, began his career with the Tigers in 2004. Spent 6 years in a Tiger uniform, and he had one of the most impressive offensive seasons in the last 50 years in 2007. He had 38 doubles, 23 triples, and 23 home runs. He was a terrific hitter that year and hit over 300 for the season.
And stole 26 bases and was caught once.
Yeah, he really had a terrific season. He would also lead the league the next year in triples with 13. He's had a very impressive career.
Comerica, is that when he was in Comerica? With 440 to center field.
Yeah, good
That's
triples
a
ballpark.
Triples haven.
Wow, close pitch.
Granderson was part of the transformation of the Tigers and something they're going through right now. And he was part of the World Series team in 2006.
And a swing and a miss to get him 2 down.
6 strikeouts now for Jordan Zimmerman with a high off-speed pitch. That time the Super Slow-Mo is brought to you by the Samsung S9 and S9 Plus. The camera reimagined, available now. He goes upstairs to get Curtis and he can't catch up to it.
So now Zimmerman will try his luck against Teoscar Hernandez. Hernandez has tripled and scored, and he's also flied out to center. There's the first pitch slider, 0-1.
I got to believe that Zimmerman and McCann in this at bat are going to try to work Hernandez inside. They have pitched him away most of the afternoon and throwing him fastballs and the sliders, but McCann very heads up behind the plate. I think they've got to mix it up and bust him inside with a fastball.
Where does Triple go? Right center. Last time up he scorched the ball to center field. Just paying attention. Let's see. Looks like he's going to head back outside.
Curveball.
Yep.
These are the things that catchers have to really be zeroed in on during the course of 2 and 3 at bats and say, okay, what has he done against us early on? I don't care about the pregame preparation. I've got to go on the information I have seen in his first 2 at bats.
1-1. Chased a slider off the outside corner, 1-2.
Again, off the plate. And I know it's difficult because you see it on the plate and then it breaks off the plate, but that's his Achilles heel. When he chases breaking balls that are balls.
He's going to get one, though. He's going to look for one, and he's going to hit it hard. He said before the game, I've been getting a lot of breaking pitches.
Got a curveball there, but it's bounced in, and he took it 2 balls, 2 strikes. So 4 pitches, guys. He hasn't seen a fastball yet in this at bat.
This might be the time to do it right here. After 4, see if you can lock him up on an inside fastball. If you miss, you go back to a breaking ball.
If he's guessing something,
yeah.
Breaking ball. He got a breaking ball up in the zone, but he skies it to center field. And the Blue Jays will leave 2 men on. We are at the end of 5 at Rogers Center with the Tigers lead 5-1. to over 450 partner destinations around the globe. Join today at westjet.com/rewards. WestJet flight deck is full here at Rogers Center on Canada Day. But the Blue Jays find themselves in the wrong end of a 5-1 game right now. All 5 coming in the 5th inning, 4 on a grand slam off the bat of Nick Castellanos. John Hicks will lead off the 6th against Jay Happ. It'll be followed by Victor Martinez and then James McCann. Hicks 0 for 2 today. Five runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Tigers. 1 run, 5 hits, no errors for the Blue Jays. And Happ at 82 pitches right now. 2 pitches here into the top of the 6th. To right field. And drifting back is Grichuk for the first out.
Super Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. The camera reimagined. Available now.
Victor Martinez is the batter. Last year of his contract. And quite possibly, guys, you would think the last year of a pretty special major league career. Guy's been a good hitter, a professional hitter for a long time.
Well, he's a switch hitting catcher, and he performed at a very high level for a long time as a catcher. Now he's been relegated to the DH role exclusively. He's come back from some pretty significant injuries. He missed an entire season because of knee problems.
And that's robbed him of his power. Don't have the power that he had when he first came up with the Cleveland Indians. Just 4 home runs, but always a dangerous hitter.
1 hit shy of 2,100 in his career, but he won't get it here. Fly ball to left, 2 down, and an update with Jamie Campbell. That is a serious pitching matchup between Morton and Snell. A couple other guys who are probably going to wind up at the All-Star game. Boys, Charlie Morton taking his game to a whole different level the last couple of years.
They had both come into this game today winning 10 games. And Morton's ERA now has dropped to 2.39. Blake Snell 2.24. And they have really put together great starts to their season. How about Evan Gattis? What a month he had.
If he's not the player of the month for the month of June, I don't know what you have to do.
He set a franchise record for the Astros for RBIs in the month of June. There have been some great performances for the month, but boy, Gattis got some big hits for Houston.
I wouldn't want to be the guy to tell him he didn't win the award in June. You know who might take it from him? His teammate, Alex Bregman. Yep. He also drove in 30 runs in June, and he hit for a higher average, hit more home runs. Nelson Cruz had a big month as well.
And Nelson Cruz has recaptured that stroke. He missed some time early after he sprained his ankle.
Little jam shot's going to find a hole. It'll drop in for a base hit for James McCann.
Outfield playing deep, respecting some of the power that McCann has. And he gets beat by a fastball. That's a 4-seam fastball right in on his hands. Look at the backspin. That takes it right to the label, but he's able to muscle it into the outfield. They got 4 hits last inning. That's their 8th hit already.
Nico Goodrum got it started last inning after the first 2 men had been retired, and he hits this ball pretty well towards the right field corner. Grichuk's got to play it off the fence. McCann on his way to third. He'll be held there on an opposite field double by Goodrum, who's now 3 for 3 on the afternoon.
Nico Goodrum just stays with this pitch up and away and drives it halfway up the wall in right field. His 15th double of the season. There was a time when Ron Gardner played him a little bit too much by his own admission, and Goodman kind of wore down a bit, but he is re-energized with a 3-hit effort so far this afternoon.
This is how last inning started for the Tigers. 2 outs, nobody on, and they put a 5 spot up. You can't go to sleep on the guy at the plate. He's hitting 8th, Iglesias. But you know who has the most RBIs in the American League from the number 8 hole? This guy right here. He can find the bat to the ball.
So the Tigers try to do more damage with 2 outs in an inning, as they did last inning, blocked there by Martin. And activity now underway in the Blue Jays bullpen, and it looks like the other Canadian on the Blue Jays roster, John Axford, is going to get a little action here at some point on Canada Day. And that was probably a strike, but Martin didn't catch it cleanly.
Yeah, he got crossed up.
Yeah.
Look at him looking out at Happ, and they're going to talk about it, but he got crossed up, and they're fortunate that ball didn't get away from Russell. But now they're having a discussion, and teams are so paranoid about protecting their pitches. You could see Russell expected that ball to sink, and it cut on him. And Happ's wondering why it wasn't called a strike, but it crossed up the catcher, and it really was an awkward pitch for the umpire to call.
He looked like he wanted to go out there, then he didn't want to go out there, and then said, you know what, this is a big part of the ball game. I better go out there and we better get on the same page.
Kind of unfortunate it cost him a strike, too.
Everybody in baseball is trying to relay pitches and relay location, and you know they do it a lot on the field, and some have been accused of doing it off the field. But catchers are so paranoid about protecting their pitches for their pitcher. They will switch signs 2 and 3 times during the course of an inning, sometimes during the course of an at-bat. And again, he's rolling over the signs. But everybody is really aware, with so much video available and so many eyes on the ball game, you've really got to be protective of a pitcher's pitch selection.
3-1.
Now you could see how easy that pitch was for the umpire to call, because Russell was set up outside. Happ hit the glove. There was no movement from the catcher. That earlier pitch that was a strike, Russell boxed it up because he was crossed up, and he had a lot of movement, and that threw the umpire off as well.
I think that second pitch was better than the fourth one.
The 3-1. And a swing and a miss at a high fastball. Now a full count.
That might be the hardest swing we've ever seen from Iglesias. Now he's back to 3-2. Watch him cut his swing down now just to make contact. It's been one of the best in baseball at contact percentage.
Popped up. And this one's going to drop in as well. The second blue pit in the inning for the Tigers, and this one produces a couple of runs.
Well, he leads the American League in RBIs out of the number 8 hole for a reason. He comes up with big base hits, runners in scoring position. Cut down his swing with 2 strikes and just gets it out of the reach into the outfield. He now has 30 RBIs as your number 8 hitter.
And that's going to be all for Jay Happ, charged with 7 runs, responsible for Iglesias. John Axford on his way in. The Tigers, losers of 11 in a row, now up 7-1 as Happ makes his way off the mound. a happy birthday. He and Canada sharing a birthday. Sanchez still on the DL with that finger situation, not ready quite yet to come off. So Ryan Borucki will get the start tomorrow against Detroit. John Axford into the game now for the Jays.
First time that Axford has pitched in this series. He last pitched Jay Happ's last start 6 days ago. It's much better results. He's 1-1 with .462 earned run average. He's got that sinker, two-seamer, just eating up righties this season.
So 2 runs in here in the top of the 6th inning. A bloop single, then a double, then another bloop single to cash in a couple of runs and to make it 7-1. And for Jay Happ, 7 runs, and he's responsible for the man at first right now, but he gave up 7 runs in his start against Seattle back on May the 10th. That one going just 3 1/3. He had given up only 15 earned runs in 8 starts since that one before today. And a soft liner to short. That'll end it. Strand a runner, but 2 more men in. Happ out, and the Tigers now lead 7-1 going to the bottom of the 6th.
Agency cover. Get the lowdown on every move. Hockey Central signing season presented by Molson Canadian coming up immediately following the ball game. And Dan, they are sure to be doing a deep dive on that John Tavares news.
Yeah, I think that'll be the lead story. No doubt about that. John Tavares saying that he is going to fulfill a lifetime dream as he has signed a 7-year deal to become a Toronto Maple Leaf. Yangervis Solarte opposite field to the warning track, and a run down by Victor Reyes, 1 down.
Yeah, that is such a big deal for the Maple Leafs after 9 seasons with the Islanders, and Tavares comes here and he's a character guy. He's a leader. He was the captain of the Islanders, and he gives you that veteran presence. With so many young star players in the Maple Leafs, this is a great addition to this hockey club.
Now, how about your centers, at least the top 3 being Tavares, Matthews, and Kadri right now? But Leafs Nation is still saying this is awesome, but do you have room under the cap to get a defenseman? Can you go out and get just one more guy to help keep the puck out of the Leafs net? But obviously tremendously exciting day for Maple Leafs fans, and saw online on Tavares's Twitter account he kind of penned a note to the Islanders fans, thanking them and telling him how difficult this decision was for him.
But you know what it does too? It certainly raises the profile of the Leafs for other free agents to now consider. You know, maybe some defensemen out there say, okay, all of a sudden now the Maple Leafs have a legitimate Stanley Cup ball club together or hockey club together, and they can come out and maybe sign another free agent or 2. But that has a lot to do with free agency in any sport. You look at the roster of the existing club, and now the profile of the Maple Leafs has improved dramatically.
Yep. You talk about being under a microscope, and John Tavares knows what he's getting himself into, but hometown boy trying to come home and lead the Leafs to their first Stanley Cup in over 50 years. It's going to be on from day one of training camp.
It'd be like Joey Votto playing for the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Justin Smoak 1 for 2, drove in the Blue Jays' only run of the game. That was way back in the first, and that is just foul, just beyond the reach of a leaping John Hicks, and just foul down the line.
It's really unfortunate that Hicks didn't get a glove on it, because he was in fair territory when he reached for it, but it was just beyond his reach. Smoak hit one off his glove. A ground rule double in the first inning.
The 2-2. And hit hard, but foul again.
Smokey's got a good separation going right now, and he hits that front foot down on the ground. His hands are going back, and he's really in a great hitting position, no matter what the pitch is.
And their curveball is hit fair to Hicks, and he'll wave off Zimmerman to make the play 2 down.
At the Honda Checkered Flag event, the real victory lap is the drive home.
Some young Blue Jay fans here enjoying their time at Rogers Center on Canada Day. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Pat Tabler, Hazel May. Look at those eyes, huh? It is so. How hard is it to be patient for number 2 in line? Look at her in the back. Just waiting her
Locked
turn.
in, aren't they? I'm next. I'm
Yep.
next.
Devin Pillar pops it up. Hicks has room. And the Blue Jays go in order in the bottom of the 6th. End of 6 here at Rogers Center with the Tigers up 7-1. You can see the Yankees hosting the Braves. Anibal Sanchez and Domingo Germán, the pitching matchup in that series between the Braves and the Yankees. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back for Atlanta. Hit a home run yesterday. The Braves still the leaders in the National League East right now. We're past the midway point of the season for most teams. And the Atlanta Braves, again, I don't know if it's unfair to say they're a year ahead of schedule or however you want to term it, but they're 47-34. They're 3 games up on the Phillies, 5 games up on the Nationals, who continue to struggle. Those are the top 3 teams in the National League East.
Mike Foltynewicz is pitching for the Braves today. He has 7 strikeouts through 3 innings and hasn't allowed a hit.
You know, you get this deep into the season, it's not a fluke anymore. They're for real.
Yeah, the great GM of the Braves for so many years, John Sherholtz, always used the 60-game barometer to decide what kind of team he had. And now, of course, the Braves are well beyond that. 47-34. They are legit.
Yeah, I think just to energize things.
Here comes Diaz, got to hurry, and they will get Reyes one down.
Just to energize things, they might go out. You know, Alex Anthopoulos, he likes to, generate some interest to get them over the hump. They might have to go out and make a deal.
I think a lot of people thought if Donaldson had been healthy, that's a spot he could have landed, because remember, they tried Bautista at third base this year. Then when they released him, Johan Camargo took over. Ryan Flaherty has played some third, but you could understand if it were a healthy and a vintage Donaldson that there would be some interest there. Also, maybe in the bullpen they might be looking for something. Think the Blue Jays and Braves could swing a deal this year?
I think for the Braves, I'm thinking more starting pitching. Okay. They've got so many young starters and a 162 game schedule, then a possible playoff month. I'm thinking more of a veteran starter who's been there to help some of those young kids get over the hump.
Yeah. Right now, getting back to the Donaldson thing, obviously he's not playing yet, so you can't even talk about him as a possible trade guy. But Atlanta, if they needed a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher, be interesting if Alex Anthopoulos and Ross Atkins swung a deal.
The Braves have used 9 starting pitchers to this point, and from my point of view, they don't have a starter to open up a postseason series. They've got some nice pitchers. Newcomb's 8-2, Tehran is 6-5, but they don't have a starter that you can say, okay, this is our #1 pitcher in the postseason. This is the guy we want to open up the postseason. They don't have that guy right now.
But what do they have that can acquire that?
They got a deep farm system.
Yes, they got a lot of good young players.
Yep.
A lot, if they want to choose to sell them off.
One of the best farm systems in baseball. But again, interesting because I don't know if they thought they'd be this good this year. And do you want to make a trade this year, or do you want to, do you have to go for it when your team is good?
Yes.
You never assume you'll be better next year and the year after.
You have to go for it when your team is good, because you don't know what's going to happen next year.
Right.
Markakis is a free agent at the end of this year.
Yep.
He's having another career season. You have to make sure. And there's another guy that hasn't made an all-star team before. Markakis is going to be an all-star this year, and he's had a heck of a season. So I think when you're in this position around the all-star break, you have to go for it.
Absolutely.
You don't know when it's coming around again.
Do you think the Washington Nationals regret not pitching Steven Strasburg in the playoffs when he was a rookie?
Absolutely.
Still haven't gotten out of the first round.
No, and you know what? They did it backwards. If you're going to limit his innings, limit him in April, not in September and October.
No. 3-2 on Castellanos, who hit a grand slam his last time up.
He's not going to hit any of those pitches out of the ballpark. I mean, Axford got so deep in his kitchen, he was able to just keep it off his chest. Axe has got that great fastball with a lot of late movement, and this has been a real battle for Castellanos.
I've seen Castellanos hit that ball out of the ballpark. He did that this week when they were playing the Oakland A's. But he's not going to hit that one that's moving that hard. You can see they're trying to pitch him up.
He fights off the breaking ball to right field, but Grichuk is there for the second out. Well, speaking of farm systems and prospects, Baseball America, very highly respected, has updated its top 100. They do it at the beginning of the year, then they do it mid-season. Acuna, speaking of Atlanta, was #1 before the year. Vlad was #2. Acuna's in the big leagues. Vlad, despite being hurt, now #1. Bo Bichette up to #7, and 4 more Blue Jay farmhands find themselves in the top 100. Nate Pearson, Lourdes Gurriel, Danny Jansen, and Kevin Smith. Anthony Alford was in the top 100 at the beginning of the year, has fallen out, but I think that's great news for Blue Jays fans. Not just that Vlad is here and Bichette is there. Everybody knows about those two guys, but the fact that the depth in the organization is now being recognized. And again, these are just rankings, but it's rankings from a very thorough and highly respected organization of Baseball America that looks at farm systems, because even if Vlad is Willie Mays, you need more. You need lots of guys, and it looks like the depth in the farm system is really improving. To right center field, Grichuk there, and Delario is retired, and the Tigers go in order. 7th inning stretch here at the ballpark. Our lineup.
Nicholas Castellanos came into this game with the best average against left-handed pitching in Major League Baseball, and he shows you why. He takes this pitch on a line to right center field with the bases loaded and 2 outs, an exit velocity of 101, bounces it right off the top of the wall for a grand slam, this afternoon's drive of the game.
That's by far the biggest hit of the ball game for the Tigers' best hitter. And that's one of the big reasons why the Tigers are enjoying this 7-1 lead, trying to snap an 11-game losing streak.
Anytime a ball club wins a game, you can look at the starting pitcher and say, okay, well, he kept the other team down, and that's what Jordan Zimmermann has done. He gave up a run in the first inning, and the Tigers, who have lost 11 in a row, are thinking, oh, here we go again. But Zimmermann said, no, that's not the case. He's thrown up nothing but zeros ever since the first.
Russell Martin leads off the bottom half of the inning for the Blue Jays, down 7-1. Well, we didn't have a chance because the top of the 7th ended, but when you saw that top 100 list and where some of the other Blue Jay prospects were, Gurriel, Jansen, Pearson, and so on, what jumped to mind for you guys?
They got more guys than that.
Yeah.
I bet you they have another 5 or 6 players in the top 130, because there are a lot of guys, especially middle infielders, that are playing so well. But even the #1 pick this year, Jordan Groshans, has played 7 games in the Gulf Coast League. He's got a 1.348 OPS, and he's absolutely killing it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they move him to Vancouver, just so he can get a little more competitive atmosphere working. Gulf Coast League is like you're playing a practice game every day.
Yeah,
It's
instructional league.
minor league complexes, and it's just not a great atmosphere. I think they should push him and put him up in Vancouver and let him get some of that feeling.
So there's more good players. There's a tricky little hop for Candelario that makes the out. But when you have good players, and it seems like the Blue Jays are starting to get good players, you start to win more games. And that's what I've noticed about the farm system. It's the teams that are winning, playoff teams. The Dunedin team won the Florida State League for the first time last season. I believe it's Lansing's already in the playoffs. They won the first half. Their low A ball team. Bluefield's having a good season. Vancouver won last season. They're starting to win, and that breeds good players, breeds winning teams, that breeds good players winning at the major league level.
And a couple of good pitching performances in the high minors today in the Blue Jays system, as Grichuk skies one back of second. It'll be Iglesias, the shortstop. 2 down. At AAA Buffalo, Sean Reed Foley, 6 scoreless innings today against Syracuse. 2 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. And at AA New Hampshire, 7 shutout innings for TJ Zoik, the former first-round pick a couple of years back. So the starting pitching prospects are starting to move up the chain and having good results. And listen, if Happ gets traded, if Estrada gets traded, Blue Jays are going to have to plug some holes. Are these guys ready yet? Maybe not, but maybe by next year they will be.
Yeah, I think they have some options if they need a starter to finish out the rest of the season. I think they're in pretty good shape in that regard.
Diaz grounds out. It's a 9-pitch, 3 up, 3 down, bottom of the 7th for Jordan Zimmermann. Blue Jays baseball partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. So many of the first responders to that horrific crime on Yonge Street in Toronto. That's Constable Ken Lamb, the police officer who arrested the suspect. A lot of members of the military here on the field before the game. We thank all of them for their service. Top of the 8th inning, 7-1 Detroit, to the new pitcher for the Blue Jays is right-hander Jake Petrichka.
Just called up yesterday. He made his Blue Jay debut the first time he was called up back in May, the first week of May. Was sent back down. Did a good job over his last 20 innings with 13 strikeouts for Buffalo. Ryan Tepera goes on the disabled list. Jake Petrichka back in the big leagues.
Blue Jays hoping it's nothing more than 10 days for Tepera, but it is the elbow, so I'll have to wait and see. Petrichka facing John Hicks here to begin the top of the 8th inning. And a breaking ball for a strike, 1-1. Hicks is 0 for 3, a strikeout and a couple of fly balls. Blue Jays got their run in the bottom of the first inning and an RBI double by Justin Smoke, and things were going great for the Jays into the 5th inning. And even then, Detroit had 2 outs and nobody on. And then 3 hits, a walk, and a grand slam. The 4th hit of the inning, and suddenly a 5-run top of the 5th off Jay Happ. Made it 5-1. They added 2 more in the 6th with a couple of bloop singles figuring in. 7-1 Detroit. Out hitting the Jays 10-5.
You know, you come into a series playing a team like the Tigers, and they don't have many hitters, and the first thing a pitching coach will say is, don't let Castellanos beat you. He homered yesterday, hit a grand slam today, and you know, it's just unfortunate that they got into a situation where they had to pitch to him with the bases loaded, but the pitch was down out over the plate right into his wheelhouse, and he hit that grand slam.
Right where he likes it. He is going to be a run producer, I think, for a long time.
He made a great point about the fact he's just 26 years old. Just hitting his prime, learning how to hit. And there's Zimmerman talking with Rick Anderson, the pitching coach. And Jordan Zimmerman has been a very consistent pitcher prior to coming to Detroit. And then he dealt with some injuries and, of course, the pressure of a big free agent contract. He probably put a little too much pressure on himself. But this is Jordan Zimmerman at his best. This is what he was capable of doing when they signed him.
Pound that strike zone with fastballs. Use your breaking ball. Hit your spots. Finally, he feels healthy. And he looks it. His day might be done.
Yeah, it looks like it. They got somebody up in the bullpen. Victor Martinez is the batter. Victor, as we mentioned last time, up 1 hit away from 2,100 in his career. He's 0 for 3 today. And a broken back ground ball to Smoke. There's one, and back to first in plenty of time. Martinez doesn't run well at all anymore. And that'll be a 3-6-3 double play, 2 down. Quick timeout now for Marvel Studios, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
There is another person I can think of. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
So Petrichka gets the double play ball. And with a guy like Martinez running, it's like when Kendrys Morales is running. You just got to get that first one. You know you can get the second out if you get the first.
Well, and Smoke did a good job because the tendency is for a first baseman to step on the bag. But he knew he had plenty of time to go to second and get the faster runner initially. And then the return throw was in plenty of time to get Martinez. Smokey can play over there. I don't know what his scoop percentage is, but he can play first.
The infamous scoop percentage that we saw in Houston. He's made 1 error this year. Smoke over at first base. Got to throw him in for consideration of a Gold Glove. You have to.
He can really play, and he has good range, positions himself well, and he's got a very strong arm. But here's the play where normally a first baseman say, I can step on the bag, but you might not have time to make the play at second. If you do that, you got plenty of time for the return throw with Martinez running.
Now McCann sends a fly ball to deep right. Back is Grichuk, and he's got it. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It is 7-1 Detroit. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie Campbell and Cliff Floyd in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Second time this season, Zimmerman goes 7 innings. He was very good. He gave up an earned run in the first inning, and that was it. After that, he really stymied the Blue Jays. He retired the last 8 batters he faced, and the big number on that screen, no walks. He never got himself into trouble by putting those extra base runners on.
So now he is out of the game after 7 very good innings against the Blue Jays. Blaine Hardy, he's been in 13 games this year. 8 of them were starts, so they've moved him back into the bullpen, and he seems to be suited better for the pen. His record's 3-1. You can see the numbers right there. He doesn't walk anybody. He's got a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Fastball, slider, curveball, a little bit of a changeup, and his job right now is just put a 0 on the board.
Devin Travis will lead it off for the Blue Jays. He's 1 for 2, had an infield hit his last time up.
Blaine Hardy started against the Blue Jays on the 1st of June, the first game of that 3-game series. He had a very good outing. 6 innings, 2 runs on 3 hits. He was matched up against Tommy Garcia, who gave up 4 earned runs in an inning and 2/3, and Hardy picked up his 2nd win of the season in that start.
When he commands his fastball, he's pretty good.
Missed upstairs. A ball and 2 strikes on Travis, who will be followed by, looks like Kendrys Morales, who's out in the on-deck circle for Curtis Granderson, and then Teoscar Hernandez. Guys, as festive as Canada Day is at the ballpark, for whatever reason, the Blue Jays haven't played particularly well on Canada Day. They are 14-25 all time on Canada Day, which means I guess twice they didn't play on July 1st, going back over the first 41 years of the franchise, and they got their work cut out for them, or they're going to drop to 14-26 all time on the holiday.
That's
maybe this is a bit of a start. Yep.
Check out the Beauty Tone Paint event on now through July 3rd, only at Home Hardware. Here's how.
Evidence of Canada Day all over the ballpark today. Jays down 7-1, and here indeed is Kendrys Morales to bat for Curtis Granderson.
He's had 10 at-bats against Hardy in his career. He's hit a home run against him. think you got to take that change up like we just saw Devin Travis do and hit it to right field. It's going to fade down and away from Morales. If you try and pull it, you're going to pull the ball right to the shortstop.
Morales, of course, hit the pinch hit home run in Anaheim, his 4th career pinch hit home run.
And Hardy gets the call there, and a ball that looked to be outside, and he's out in front 0-2. Pitching him away, playing him to pull. Big hole on the right side. And pretty worried in a 6-run game about a guy who's not a base stealer.
Yeah, it makes no sense. There's no reason to think about Travis. Just like a icebreaker for Blaine Hardy. I'm just going to go over there for the heck of it. We mentioned Morales swinging the bat much better of late. He's had some big hits for the Blue Jays. He just 1 for 8 so far on this homestand, but he had a good road trip. He had a couple of long offers early in the season. At one point, he was 0 for 29. But he's bounced back, and he never wavered. He kept saying, you know what, I'm coming around. And he started the season wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
And thought that was going to help him out, but he just never felt real comfortable or confident with him.
Elevating the ball just a little bit better now, too. These are the type of players you want to get the ball in the air. That's where the extra base hits are. There was a lot of strikeouts and a lot of ground outs earlier in the season from Kendris. Now he's hitting the breaking ball a little bit better, and he's elevating the ball, getting it in the air better.
Trying to come in. Left it out over the plate, but it's lifted into right center field. And Castellanos is there for out number 1. So Travis at first with 1 down here in the bottom of the 8th, and now Teoscar Hernandez, a triple and a couple of fly ball outs.
It's the thing the Blue Jays have showed in this series. They haven't been able to, again, bunch hits together. They scored in 1 inning on Friday, 1 inning before the home run by Justin Smoke yesterday, and then 1 inning. They've scored in 1 inning today. Had a couple of runners on in the 5th inning, couldn't bring them around.
Two good pitches, and quickly 0-2.
That's 3 straight batters. He's been 0-2 against the Jays. He'll throw you a strike.
And a high fly ball to right field. It's taken to Castellanos back, but he's right on the edge of the warning track. Hernandez gives it a ride, but not quite far enough. 2 down. Crowd of 37,445 here at Rogers Center today. A mix of red and blue, as Preston Gilmet is now throwing in the bullpen for the Blue Jays. So it looks like he'll come on to work the top of the 9th inning, but first Yangervis Solarte tries to get something going here in the bottom of the 8th. Couple of strikeouts and a fly ball to left field. And he sends one to right field. Busy half inning for Castellanos. No runs, a base hit, and a man left. End of 8. Tigers 7, Blue Jays 1.
Presented by Honda. The Honda Checkered Flag event is back. Hurry in to grab the Civic that matches your game.
Back here in Toronto, 7-1 Tigers leading the Blue Jays as we go to the top of the 9th inning. After the bottom of the 8th, the third out, Castellanos, trust me, this will be the most Canadian thing you see all day. Castellanos tosses it into the stands, tries to toss it to a Tigers fan who boots it into the hands of a Canadian guy who hands it right back to the Tigers fan.
Very Canadian, very Canadian. That's
Canadian.
extremely awesome out there. That guy said, you know what, he was throwing it to you and you couldn't catch it, so here you are. Welcome to Toronto.
We are good neighbors, aren't we? Here's Preston Gilmet in for the 9th. And he misses high ball 1 to Nico Goodrum, who's had a good day. 3 hits in as many at bats, 2 singles, a double, and a couple of runs scored.
Never has had a 4-hit game. He's had a couple of 3-hit games this year.
Some changes for the Blue Jays. Luke Maile is now behind the plate. But Russell Martin's not out of the game. He's just moved around. Darnell Sweeney is in at third base right now. Where's Russell? There's Russell. He's at short right now for the 9th inning. Two. And the breaking ball fouled back. So barring a huge bottom of the 9th, the Tigers will snap their 11-game losing streak. And they'll try to earn a split of the series tomorrow afternoon. Mike Fiers for Detroit and Ryan Borucki for the Blue Jays. The splitter is lined into right field, a base hit. And there is that 4-hit game for Nico Goodrum.
Boy, what an afternoon he has had. He got a couple of hits against Jay Happ. He doubled. The second last batter before Jay left the game, and there's that splitter. Stays back on it and is able to hit it into right field. What an afternoon.
The bottom 4 hitters for the Tigers have combined to get 8 hits. They've got 8 of the 11 hits, and the big mistake was the other 2 hits went to Castellanos. And they had a leadoff bunt by the leadoff hitter, that 2-out bunt by Martin, but Castellanos with 2 hits. The bottom 4 hitters, including a 4-hit game for Nico Goodrum. Castellanos with a grand slam in the 5th.
5 RBIs from the top of the lineup, but you got to get those RBIs from somebody. It's been the bottom of the lineup setting it up for this team.
Iglesias pops one into shallow right. Grichuk there, 1 down.
Iglesias had a big hit in the 6th inning. He drove in 2 runs as he hit a ball into right field.
Yeah, this is one of those, the line is not pretty for Jay Happ, but if you look at it, it's one of those how different things might have been. A play here, a play there. And really, through 4 2/3, I mean, for the most part, he was sailing along.
I think the play of the game was the Martin 2-out bunt.
Yep.
I mean, he never ever wavered, stepped in the box, had an idea what he wanted to do, and dropped down to beauty.
I think I agree with you there, but the Jacoby Jones at bat right before that set the whole inning up, don't you think?
Walking the number 9 hitter?
Walking the number 9 hitter, walking the bases loaded to set up the bunt and then the grand slam.
Only walk that Happ gave up today.
Yeah, unfortunately, it came at a big situation.
That hurt. That's Shane Green, the closer for the Tigers.
Hasn't had much to close recently.
No, he hasn't. This won't be a save situation by any means, but he'll be happy to go in there and try to get the final 3 outs of this game.
Jones has doubled, walked, and lined out. Lays off down and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Tampa Bay's trying to hang on and beat Houston again. They're up 3-2 in the 9th inning. The Rays have the best pitching numbers in baseball over the last 6 weeks. There is a close pitch that does not go Gilmet's way, so it's a full count. Tampa Bay got a very good start from Blake Snell today, and Sergio Romo's trying to close it out.
So no opener for them today?
No opener today. Snell is he is above the opening rules. He's a starter. Their ERA's under 3 over the last 6 weeks. This ball is ripped to left center field. It's off the top of the fence and gone. 2-run homer Jacoby Jones to extend the lead to 9-1.
And Buck, there they go again, the bottom of the order, getting it done today for the Tigers.
They're going to have another meeting tomorrow. They had a meeting today and said, you know what, fellas, you can't think about losing 11 in a row. You just got to go out there and put in a good effort, and have they ever, especially the bottom of this order. Jacoby Jones is 2 for 3 today, and he lined out the other at bat. But this is a no doubt line drive over the wall, right on top of the wall, and bounces out of the yard.
That's 2 today for the Tigers, right off the top of the wall.
Now Martin with a drive to deep center over Pilar's head and off the wall on the fly, and a Martin into second base with a booming double. Or Reyes, excuse me, Victor Reyes, who came on after Martin left earlier with the injury. Reyes with a double off the center field fence.
Reyes is an interesting young player. He's a switch hitter. He's got some speed. He's got a good arm. He hasn't hit much as a left-handed batter coming into this game, batting 175. But he jumps all over this pitch, down and away, and hits it over Pilar's head off the wall in center.
Looks like he's got some power with that booming double.
It's a Rule 5 pickup that the Tigers are hanging on to this year. Here's Castellanos, 2 for 4, including a grand slam. So 9-1 now for Detroit here in the 9th inning. And another deep fly ball. Castellanos deep left center. Pilar back, and he made the catch. Even Castellanos has to applaud the effort and the grab made by Kevin Pilar.
This catch is almost as good as the one he made in left field when he was a young player with the Blue Jays. But boy, you talk about timing your play perfectly. He's shaded to the right side of second base, and Gilmet thinks that's out, and it is out until Pilar gets there and goes high over the wall to make the catch.
Watch him put that foot in, and it just catapults him up over the wall to bring it back. What a catch by Pilar, and Castellanos has to give him a standing O.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge a great effort by Pilar in a 9-1 game. And he saves a home run for Gilmet.
Well, some of the folks had left the ballpark with the Blue Jays down by as many as they are, but those who have stayed rewarded with one of the best plays we've seen this season.
We've seen them all over the years. Gilmet thought it was gone, but then thanks to center fielder, that's top 3 for me.
Yeah, he made a terrific catch in left field earlier in his career. He's made several great plays in center, but that one's going to be one of his favorite because it robs Castellanos of his second home run of the afternoon.
One and one the count on Jeimer Candelario. Now 2 down.
It is so easy to lose your focus as a defensive player when you're playing in the 9th inning. You're losing 9-1, but Pilar, to his credit, stayed focused and makes a terrific play in the outfield. And
Okay.
that's reasons why we love the Jays.
She might need to add a 12.
12.
Yeah. Well, that got Maley on the bare hand, it looks like, but he appears to be all right.
We got to put together a top 10 list
Good luck with that.
with those, with the Pilar plays.
You might have to narrow it down from a larger group.
Well, absolutely.
He made a great catch in Cleveland when he slammed up against the wall in right center. We've seen him make a couple of great catches in Baltimore.
Oh, outstanding. You know, one of my favorite was the one last August in Chicago at Wrigley Field when he crashed into the wall.
The
Gave
brick
up his
wall.
body, the brick wall. This one, that's up there, man. That is incredible.
You know what? As kids, these players have done that. And there's that Superman cape that was given away earlier in the season. But as kids, time and time again, you play that play in your backyard. Fly ball to center field. Pilar's back steps on the fence and makes the catch.
Let's see it one more time. Going to break. Between the Tigers and Blue Jays comes your way tomorrow afternoon. Blue Jays Central at 12:30 Eastern. First pitch just after 1 o'clock Eastern time. Right here on Sportsnet. It doesn't feel like winter weather, but all kinds of news from the hockey world that you'll find out after the ball game today. That's coming up, but a moment or two more to savor that incredible catch by Kevin Pilar. Without question, one of the best that he's made in his career.
He did such a good job of timing it perfectly so he could step up on the fence and catapult himself well over the fence. That fence is 10 feet tall.
Yep. Here's Justin Smoke, 1 for 3. And a roller for Goodrum out in shallow right. 1 down. As mentioned, a lot of hockey news for a preview of what's coming up on Hockey Central after the game. Here's Darren Millard. All right, Darren, thank you. There will be a lot of eyeballs on that, especially in this neck of the woods, that's for sure. Kevin Pilar getting a big ovation as he comes to the plate after that great catch in the top half of the inning. 1 for 3 on the afternoon.
I agree.
He has been popular from just about the day he showed up here in Toronto.
Yeah, man, he came in with a terrific attitude. You know, he's 32nd round pick out of a Division III school in California, and he was always against the odds. He wasn't a high draft pick, as we mentioned, and he always had to kind of prove himself at every level, and he's done just that.
In the air to center. 2 down. And the Tigers are out away from snapping their 11-game losing streak.
Shane Green into the game for the Tigers. You mentioned it's not a safe situation, but he needs some work. He last worked on the 26th of June because they've lost 11 in a row. Not many save opportunities. He came in that big 3-team trade between the Yankees and the D-backs and the Tigers, that Didi Gregorius trade. Gregorius went to the Yankees. Robbie Ray went from the Tigers to the Diamondbacks, and the Tigers got Shane Green from the Yankees. He's their closer. He's got 19 saves this year.
The Tigers only have 36 wins, and he's been a big part of closing out games for them. Ron Gardenhire, his club on the verge of snapping that 11-game losing streak.
And they'll be going for a split of the 4-game series tomorrow afternoon. And this is the Blue Jays center Ryan Borucki to the mound for his second start. Then the Blue Jays take on the Mets and Yankees over the next week here on this long homestand. There's Borucki looking on, waiting for his chance tomorrow. 1-2 to Russell Martin. Is a bouncer towards third, and that'll do it. The Tigers win going away, down 1-0 for the first few innings. They wind up winning 9-1, and that losing streak is now a thing of the past as the Blue Jays dropped 5 games below the 500 mark now at 39-44.
Yeah, the Tigers got to Jay Happ in that 5th inning. He scored 5 runs in the 5th inning. All of those runs coming with 2 outs. They had 2 outs, nobody on, and Goodrum started it with a base hit, and then Iglesias got a base hit. The walk Jones. The big blow of the game was the Castellanos home run, and they snapped that long losing streak. Blue Jays managed just 1 run on 6 hits.
Yeah, it seemed to calm everybody down, I think, for the Tigers after that grand slam. Blue Jays retired. It was all about pitching. They retired the Blue Jays 14 of the last 15 batters that the Tiger pitchers faced this afternoon to win going away.
So 9-1 the final here at Rogers Center. Happy Canada Day to you and yours. Time now for Blue Jays Central. Jamie, Joe, and Cliff.